The Last of Us 2. Oh, wow. What's going on, guys? My name is Tyler, and today, welcome to another review on the channel. Today's review is going to be about the monumental, divisive video game of 2020, The Last of Us Part 2, the most recent Game of the Year award winner as well. I just finished this game tonight. It is mid-January right now, as I'm recording this voiceover, and I am proud to say that I didn't think it was complete trash, as many other people think. This game has garnered a bit of a divisive fan base after it was released back in June of 2020, and it's pretty obvious to see why. Major spoilers in this video while I discuss the story and gameplay beats of the game. I will say I didn't hate this game, but I'll explain when we get into the review. So let's get into it.
Appreciate it. I'm Mel, by the way.
Tommy, this is my brother.
Joe. Y'all act like you heard of us or something.
The story of The Last of Us 2 starts out a little different from the first game. Instead, you play as Ellie instead of Joel. And sadly, Joel dies. And you might be wondering, why does Joel die and how does Joel die? Well, Joel gets hit in the face with a golf club, thankfully by the hands of Abby, the other protagonist of the game. Yeah, that's right. You play as the person who killed one of the most beloved characters of the series with a fucking golf club. Now, I might sound like I'm mad about this, but I was, for the start of it all, but there's actually a little bit more to it than it seems. You play as Ellie for the first, 10 hours of the game. You go through 3 days in Seattle as you're trying to hunt down Abby, because, Abby killed Joel, and Joel means a lot to Ellie. Joel is a bad person, and it shows. Joel had bad blood with Abby, and it shows, and Abby killed Joel. Then the next 10 hours of the 20-hour game, you play as the villain of the game, Abby, as she goes through Seattle, not talking to Ellie, obviously, but coexisting in the same area, just not meeting each other till the very end, where it all culminates together like a nice bow on top, where you fight each other, all that crazy fun stuff. And I gotta say, I wasn't a big fan of the Switch. I still am not really a big fan of the Switch, to be honest. I like it when I can sympathize with one character. Take a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, my self-proclaimed favorite game of all time, where you play as Arthur Morgan for the first part of the game, and the epilogue you play as John Marston. That Switch is fine. Going to the villain is a very gutsy move, and Neil Druckmann, the writer and director of this game, made a ballsy move doing that. That's why people who play this game don't like it as much as, the first game, because you play as the villain for the second half of the game, and I will say the story on that side is a lot more weaker than playing as Ellie. When you play as Ellie, you have a whole game under the belt. You have a lot of emotion already knowing, what she's been through to get to this point. As Abby, you never even really met her until this game, and her little side characters of friends that you end up killing all of them anyways. So really, that doesn't even matter, because they're all dead. That's what kind of fuels her anger to go hunt Ellie down in the culmination of the end of the story, causing Ellie to go and hunt her down again at the end of the game in California. And Ellie's life towards the end of the game looks nice, but then Tommy comes over and kind of puts it all on top of his head again and causes a lot of emotions to flare up. Basically, the story is pretty hectic, and you end up meeting Abby in the end of the game, but you don't actually kill her. You almost drown her, but Ellie has a sudden change of heart because you realize the final talk that Ellie and Joel had together wasn't half bad. Ellie finally let Joel come into her heart again, even though Ellie hated Joel for a lot of the times, and now that Joel has died, Ellie's starting to remember those wasted years she had being pissed at Joel because Joel told her the truth about the Fireflies from the first game's ending and really pissed her off. See, all that right there, I just summarized to everybody in this video. It shows how big the story is and how emotionally driven it is. This story is not for the faint of heart. It doesn't pull back any punches. It is very depressing and bleak. It's a crazy story, and I really wish you guys, or anybody watching this, they have the first and second game, to play the first one first and the second game, and just see, I wouldn't say the hype, but just see what the game's about. The characters drive these stories, and the acting is beautiful, the graphics are beautiful, and the gameplay, well, let's get into that now. The gameplay within The Last of Us 2, with its story as well, blend in very seamlessly. You have a story that's already very depressing and real, and with gameplay that is real to the bone, and I mean rawer than some steak you leave and don't even cook. This gameplay, gunplay, sneaking, stealthing, everything in between the nooks and crannies of stealthing, RPG elements, whatever you want to call it. It all mixes very well with the story. And even when you're playing as Abby in the more slower and I would say more tedious parts of the gameplay is what really elevates and shines those parts up. That's why I think it's a very, very good gameplay. And I think, honestly, it might even be better than the first one. It's more fleshed out, it's dynamic. The graphics make everything look so much better. The cutscenes are blended in with the gameplay sometimes where, honestly, it feels like you're actually watching a movie and it never stops. Parts where you're on rails sections or parts where you're running away from people, sneaking behind infected, killing clickers with your shivs or, your little pocket knives. It's real. It comes from the heart of the developers at Naughty Dog. And honestly, it makes for one of the best experiences in the game I've had in a long time. I like going around shooting people in the face because it's satisfying. They call out for their friends or they call out in pain. They have dogs you have to kill. It's very dynamic. The AI is very good, mixing with zombies as well. And that's why I think this game, even with a good story already, the gameplay makes it even better. At the end of it all, The Last of Us Part 2 is a compelling, dramatic, and violent story filled with gameplay moments that really leave you with your mouth wide open, jaw dropped as well. Sadly, though, due to the fact that the last half of the game is bogged down way too much by uninteresting story and a twist that was done kind of well, but at such a bad time, I'm going to have to go with a 97 out of 100 instead of a perfect score here. It hurts me to say it. This game was very good. I thought for sure it was going to make the top 10 club for, completely perfect scored, but the fact you had to play as Abby for half the game just kind of took me out of the experience of Ellie, the story I thought I was going to get here. So, due to that fact, I gave it -3 points, but it's still an immaculate, amazing game that I think if you like the first one, give this one a try. I know it isn't the most compelling, to some it might not be the most outstanding game as I'm praising it through right now, but it has a lot of good moments and I think people should give it a try for it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and I'll talk to you all later.